Hi, I'm Erin Palmer, Team Rayceen Productions co-host and moderator.
Hello, I'm Benjamin Coy, Team Rayceen Productions co-host and moderator.
And I'm Emma G, Team Rayceen Productions co-host and moderator.
Joining us are Kaecy and NJ. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, before we talk about the documentary, please tell the viewers a little about who each of you are, starting with Kaecy and then NJ.
Thank you. So my name is Kaecy. I am from South Africa. I'm a singer-songwriter and recently become a filmmaker. That was what I used to advocate for LGBTQ rights. So yeah, NJ, you can go.
Hi, I'm NJ. I am a worship leader and a singer-songwriter. I also serve in ministry at a church called Grace Point, and I'm passionate about faith and sexuality, especially living in the continent of Africa.
I love this so much. The film is called We Too Are Called. Can you please tell us a little bit about the film, including the inspiration behind it, what it's about, and why you chose the title?
Okay. Firstly, We Too Are Called was supposed to be just, a gospel album by a bunch of queer people. But then, what we didn't want was for our stories to be forgotten. So that's why we then decided to make a documentary. And we chose the title We Too Are Called because it is a calling to serve. People need to be called. And often as queer people, our spirituality is denied, let alone our calling. So we needed to make it clear that, it is possible for queer people to be called into ministry and to occupy faith spaces. So the documentary basically chronicles the lives of openly queer people who are, serving in the church. So yeah.
Fascinating. How did you select the cast?
So a lot of them, I have worked with them. A lot of them I met obviously through my journey as a musician, and they became my friends. NJ I met a while ago when I thought that he was going to convert me. But I really loved his ministry and music. And that's what initially connected us. And then eventually, when we realized that we share same-sex attraction, we then, our friendship grew. But everyone was sort of selected based on the fact that they were either allies or openly queer, and Christian and musicians or doing something for the church.
Well, NJ, why did you want to be a part of this project?
Well, number one, you shall know the truth and the truth shall set you free. And I realized that not engaging the spiritual side of things or not engaging the faith, especially coming from the township in South Africa, was not helping much. And also it was important for our stories to be told. Often what Black church does, they will take your songs, but they don't care about your story or creating a safe space for you to exist. And I wanted to actually stand up against that. And that was the main reason for me.
The fact that you keep coming back to that, obviously you're from South Africa. Given this particular topic, and I love it so much, I'm very curious, however, to know how you managed to fund the film.
When I was busy toying around with the idea of recording this album, a funding opportunity came through an organization called the Other Foundation, which is based in South Africa, but they have satellite offices across other African countries. And they have a particular focus on social cohesion within religious spaces. So when I found that, I applied. Initially, it was for about 200,000, but they cut it down. But we managed to do with what they eventually funded us with, which was a blessing.
Oh, beautiful. Now, my personal favorite part about the film, of course, was the music that came along with it. So please tell us about the music in the film. Where is it available? How can we hear more of it?
Great. So my friend NJ is one of my favorite songwriters and composers. That was part of the reason why I wanted him to be part of this, because I absolutely am a big fan of his. So the music, also under the same name, We Too Are Called, can be found on all streaming platforms. So yeah, under We Too Are Called, it's 9 tracks that NJ and I both wrote interchangeably, and we all contributed towards.
That's great. What impact do you think the documentary has had so far, and what impact do you think it will have as more people see it?
So I'm just gonna speak and then I'll allow NJ to also chip in there. So we've done a couple of screenings, and I'm in the US now, and also did one screening last week, which was quite amazing. And what I find is it really unlocks conversation, and often it's very uncomfortable conversation, but conversation that we really need to have. And that is the impact that I would like to see. The thing is, this is something that is unspoken, particularly within the church. We have seen queer people in the church, but they're sort of ignored and no one really wants to talk about it. And what in putting this out, our hope is, for us to finally be seen and to be heard, not just when we have a microphone singing or when we an usher, but our stories, and really the story about our faith to also be made known. NJ?
Well, stories matter, and visibility also matters. And it was important for me, the impact, just personally. Cinnamon, Kaecy, and myself have been friends for 10 years. And when I watched the documentary and I got to hear their stories, especially Cinnamon's story, I couldn't stop crying, because we take for granted the traumatic experience and the violent exclusion that comes from a place that used to be safe and suddenly is no longer safe. And also when when faith has been your center, and suddenly you don't even know if you can pray Our Father who art in heaven, because, well, you're going to hell because of your sexuality. For me, that, like, beginning to demolish and remove the barriers to access, especially for people living outside of the religious margins, and also creating a space to start the conversations. And I mean, I'm blessed in the sense that I found an expression within a predominantly white space, but then I realized it was sort of like being called again to go back to where I come from, because a majority of people who look like me and who come from where I come from do not have access. And it is important for us to begin to start telling the stories, and also hearing people saying, oh, when I watched that documentary, this is what it made me feel. Or I'm going to start to try and find a place or spaces that are safe for queer communities, especially spaces of faith. For me, that impact, I can't even.
Yes, beautifully put, both of you, Kaecy and NJ. Thank you all for sitting down with us today and telling us about your story, but most of all, telling us about this fabulous, amazing documentary. With that being said, please tell our viewers how they can learn more about you and what's upcoming with both of your projects, and of course, more about where we can find the documentary.
Fantastic. So firstly, the documentary is available on YouTube. You can just search We Too Are Called. But if you can't find it, you can go to my Instagram page. I have a link tree with all the links there. And my Instagram page is Kaecy_music. That is KAECY_music. And that has a link to all my other social media, as well as the documentary.
Awesome. And of course, viewers, you can look at the description below for the links.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
To those watching, please follow Team Rayceen on social media.
And subscribe to the Team Rayceen YouTube channel.
Viewers, thank you for watching.